Hi, everyone. My name is Tereska. I am a grateful, recovering, compulsive debtor, overspender, and under earner. And I have to remind myself that I am compulsive because it took me almost a year to believe that this disease deals with compulsion. Um, Yes, I am from South Africa, Johannesburg. We don't have Debtors Anonymous in South Africa. Myself and three other sister fellows, we started the first DA South Africa meeting in October on your Thanksgiving, the American Thanksgiving last year. So we're all newcomers, and this program, I've been in the Mother Fellowship for almost 17 years. I worked the steps there. I'm an adult child. I worked the steps in Al-Anon. But coming to DA, oh my word, I thought, no, there's nothing you can tell me. Oh my goodness, was I in for a surprise? I came in last year because I'd been dating this guy, and I've always been financially independent up to a certain point. But being a single mom, I struggled to make ends meet. So I had this guy in my life who had money. So whenever I needed it, he would help me out. So there was no problem. The problem began when last year, during the pandemic, this guy ended his relationship with me. I panicked. At first, I thought, no, I'll just manipulate him into my life again. That did not happen. And then the panic set in. And I was not really worried about him. All I cared about was the money he used to offer me. My Al-Anon sponsor, when I told her the news, she said, thank God, I've been trying to tell you to get out of that relationship for ages. Now you have no choice but to get your finances in order. I was suicidal. I didn't know what to do. I was having sleepless nights. I'm not in a lot of debt, but I'm an under earner. So it was the month to month bills and making ends meet. That is what was stressing me. And then I found Debtors Anonymous. A previous sponsor of mine years ago told me about Debtors Anonymous, and I thought, no, I'm not a debtor. Please, come on. I just need to earn more money, and then my problems would be solved. So that night, I Googled Debtors Anonymous. I found the website. I listened to some podcasts, and the first promise of DA says, instead of despair, you will find hope. That's what I had instantly. I was like, here is a solution for my problem. I attended my first DA meeting. It was the 30th of June, 2020. And oh my goodness, I felt at home. I felt such a sense of relief that I don't have to run around in circles anymore. Having grown up in an alcoholic home, my parents they were business owners. And during apartheid years, that was unusual because we made a lot of money. And for the average Black family, we were considered well off. We used to go to the coast once a year. My father once bought my mom a brand new Mercedes. We went to private schools. So we were above average. And people used to call us rich, right? I remember as a youngster, probably 9, 10, because we had a shop. So we would get an allowance, and I would go and buy myself some jewelry. On weekends, my cousins would come over for a visit, and they would take my jewelry. And when I complain about it, they would tell me, oh, what are you crying about? You guys are rich, but the word rich was like a curse word, okay? It was like an insult, so I really, really disliked that word. And even with my mom's sisters, they would take clothes from her, and she was playing grandiose, so she wouldn't object. So when I would go crying and say, but they took my jewelry, I paid with it with my allowance, my mom would say, oh, come on, I'll replace it tomorrow, I remember when my dad bought my mom a Mercedes. The one time the car was parked outside of the shop, and it was, I think it was Christmas or Boxing Day or some holiday. And we closed the shop early. It was like noon, right? But there was one guy who came running and he still wanted to buy something in the shop.
Minutes.
Thank you. And my dad was telling him, no, it's closed. We're closing now. And this guy started shouting at my father saying, yeah, we have made you rich. And now you can't even open the shop for us. My father and I had to go to the back to go and lock up there. And when we came back, this guy had taken an iron and he scratched my mom's brand new Mercedes all around, you know. So the message that I got was that having money and being successful and having abundance and prosperity was a bad thing. And I brought this into my adulthood, you know. As soon as money came in, I wanted to get rid of it because I didn't want people to dislike me and hate me, you know. Even I remember my first car I bought, I made sure I bought the cheapest car on the market because I didn't want anybody to call me rich anymore, you know. So, and then this is why I was so vague about money. I mean, wasn't even sure how much money I earned. I just knew it wasn't enough. So that's why I had to spend whatever I need to spend before my debit orders would go off, you know. And then last year when I came into the fellowship, I listened. I was so hungry, desperate for the solution. I attended so many meetings. Luckily at night I couldn't sleep. And that's the time when the Americans would have their meetings. And that's the time I would just sit for 3 or 4 hours and just go jump from one meeting to the next, you know. First, I had to sort out the time codes and the everything. And, you know, but I thank God for Zoom. Within the first month, I had my first emergency PRG without any numbers because I was just feeling overwhelmed. I didn't even know where to start the program. My PRG team told me, get a sponsor first, continue doing meetings, but get the sponsor and start working the steps. I found a sponsor and I started working the HOW program, which is quite rigorous. I lasted in that program for 2 months. It was just too much. Then I decided, no, let me just do it the normal way. I got another sponsor. We worked up to the 3rd step, but then she also got busy and everything. I had to find another sponsor again, which is my 3rd sponsor whom I'm working with now. So I've just for the 3rd time completed step 1. So I feel like an expert in step 1 because in the rooms we also said there's only one step you can work perfectly, and that is the 1st step. I didn't want to admit that I was a compulsive debtor. You know, maybe occasional debtor, maybe a little bit of an overspender, but compulsive. And then one day I went grocery shopping and I saw it. I saw the compulsion in action. I had gone there with a list. I knew how much I was going to spend. But once I got into the shop, something bigger and stronger than me took over me. And I wanted to buy everything in sight because there was this fear that I don't have enough and I need to buy everything right now in case I run out, you know. And I still remember because now I'm familiar with the program and I've committed my numbers that morning to an action partner. And I remember calling her and saying, oh my God, I'm overspending and I can't stop, you know. And that's when I saw the compulsion for the first time. Now I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if you give me money and I am not spiritually connected and centered, I'm going to spend that money in a way I shouldn't be spending it, you know. I thank God for this program. I now have a rolling PRG team. I meet with them every 4 to 6 weeks. I've had like probably almost 8 PRGs. And they've been amazing. Because I need other people. I now realize this disease is related to trauma, childhood trauma. So when I deal with my own finances, the trauma takes over and I can't think clearly. You know, the emotions take over. So I need other people to help me, you know, wade through the waters. And that's what my PRG team does for me. When I show them my spending plan, they are able to say, no, but look at Thank you. I'll wrap it up. Look at that. And 3 months ago, you're making progress. I'm unable to see all that, So I love the tools of the program. I have a daily action partner as well. It's been amazing. People, before DA, a week after I got paid, my money would be finished, and I would still have stuff that I needed to buy for the rest of the month. I got paid more than 3 weeks ago. I'm getting paid again next month. And I still have money in my account. That alone is a miracle. I keep on looking at this money because I do my numbers daily and I'm like, oh, what is this money doing in my account? But I remember when the compulsion to spend comes over, I go look at my spending plan. I'm like, no, it's assigned for it. It has to go somewhere. So I can't just buy boots or whatever I feel like doing. But the discipline, solvency for me is sanity. And thank you. I'll just wrap it up with this. I'm a mother. I will not go to bed without knowing where my son is. I now see it is the same with my money. I can't go to sleep with knowing where my children are. My money is my children. I work very hard for it. So, and that gives me clarity, which gives me peace of mind. And I will leave it there for now. Thank you all for allowing me to share and for being a part of my recovery.